Good afternoon. Welcome to the Board of County Commissioners meeting for Tuesday, January 26, 2021. My name is Ty Menser, Chair of the Board of County Commissioners. Present is Vice Chair Commissioner Gary Edwards, Commissioner Carolina Mejia. Some folks off screen that I cannot see, but is our Assistant County Manager in the boardroom?
She'll be joining over Zoom.
Okay. Our county manager is excused this afternoon. We'll have our assistant county manager joining us by Zoom, and we have our county treasurer, Jeff Gadman, and several staffers that will be involved in various items on the agenda. Calling the meeting to order, it is 2:01, and we're going to begin with the Pledge of Allegiance to be led by Commissioner Edwards.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And now we are looking for the agenda for today. Is there a motion? Can you hear me?
I see. I would move to approve the Tuesday, January 26th, 2021 agenda.
I second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Agenda is approved. Is there a motion regarding board meeting minutes from January 12th and 19th?
Yes, I would move for approval of the board meeting minutes from January 12th, 2021 and January 19th, 2021.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any corrections or comments on this item?
No, sir.
No, sir.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries unanimously for approval of board meeting minutes from January 12th and 19th. Now is the opportunity for the public to address the board. The Board of Thurston County Commissioners welcomes comments from the public at all Tuesday afternoon meetings. However, there are some guidelines governing such comments to ensure they are appropriate and do not take advantage of the fact that that these meetings are televised. Please introduce yourself, including the area of the county in which you reside when you're called. Please address the board, not audience or staff. Please silence your cell phones. The board will not directly respond to public comments. The county manager will follow up on an as-needed basis with specific items. Speakers are limited to a total of 3 minutes to address the board and cannot donate their speaking time to any other citizen. The board reserves the right to restrict a person's opportunity to address the meeting for a good cause. No comments that are lewd and offensive, inflammatory, hateful, defamatory, or discriminatory in nature are permitted. Please be respectful. No outbursts of any kind or comments that are commercial in nature, such as promotion of a for-profit business. All materials provided to the county may be considered public records subject to public release upon request pursuant to the Public Records Act, Chapter 4256 of the RCW. Finally, remarks about pending land use permits or similar matters that could eventually come before the board on appeal are not permitted. Thank you for your cooperation. And I've been handed the sign-up sheet, which has one citizen so far. If there's others, we'll get to them after. But first is John Pettit.
Hello, Commissioners. My name is John Pettit. I live on Rich Road in East Olympia. I actually have 3 different items I want to speak about in 3 minutes. That's an awful lot to cover, so I'll cover the first one first. Okay, here we go. The first one I'm going to let you know is, as I've talked about several times, that I would like the meetings moved to a later time available for the public to be able to see. Each of you should have received a little example of the online petition that I've already created. And basically, it's labeled change the meeting time. The concept is that I'd like to see the meetings move to all commissioner meetings, regular meetings move to 7 o'clock on Wednesday night so the public can attend. This is just the first sheet of people who have signed up and made a few comments. I thought maybe I'd just go through those very quickly, the comments that are made, or at least some of them. One person says, have the meetings in the evening, please. Another, if you were truly interested in public comment, you would hold these meetings at 7 on a weekday so most people could attend the meetings and have their voices heard. Another one, I'd like to ask the commissioners to hold meeting times that were more accessible for working class community members. Another one, meetings meant to hear the public should be at a time when the public can reasonably expect to attend. Another one, please make the meeting times at times that parents and workers are able to complete their work shift as typical for most working class 9 to 5 and be able to attend these meetings after 5 p.m. Great idea, moving the meetings and open up. There was another comment, I'll leave a couple comments off, but the idea is it would be really beneficial that the public, if you want to hear the voice of the people, we have to have it when the people can come. The other thing that's notable about this topic is this is the only time that there's an opportunity to talk to all 3 commissioners. It's the only time that you can actually sit and talk to all the commissioners eye to eye and express your concerns. So I think we should take a good look at that. Another quick little topic is I did provide you an OPMA practice tips. There's 2 types of meetings. There's regular meetings and special meetings. And the notable part is we'll just say it this way, special meetings, anything other than a regular meeting. Regular meeting is the meeting we're in right now, 2 o'clock on Tuesday, but prescribed by ordinance. There is no other meetings that are prescribed by ordinance for time and place to occur. So anything else, special meetings, Friday, that special meeting that you're going to have, please provide proper public notice of a special meeting as it's supposed to be done, or it could be subject to things. The last quick issue, just wanted to make sure you got my letter that had talked about the issues of regulatory takings. It's a follow-up to a series that I'm trying to work on for you to have you understand that property rights are different. Property rights are very individual, just like every person's an individual. Every piece of property may have rights that are particular to it, and we have to be careful not to take away people's property rights by using generic code and code that was made after they'd already established rights. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pettit. Is there anybody else in the boardroom that I can't see?
There's no one else in the boardroom.
Thank you. Okay, well then that covers our public comment for today. Number 2 is county manager's update. I'm going to just check in with our assistant county manager, Robin Campbell, who's online for us today.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner. I have nothing this afternoon.
Okay, we have a number of consent items, A through J. Is there a motion on the consent agenda?
Yes, for the following consent items, I move to approve items 3A through J on the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion or request to remove an item from the consent agenda?
No, sir.
No, sir.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Consent agenda passes. And that takes us straight to page 4 on today's agenda, which begins with Community Planning and Economic Development, resolution regarding illegal discriminatory language in residential recording instruments. Jeremy Davis, who has been a point person on this, is here, operations manager for CPED. And I'm going to go straight to you, Jeremy.
Good afternoon, Chair Manzer, Commissioners. Also in attendance today is County Auditor Mary Hall. I wouldn't mind ceding the floor to her first, if you don't mind.
Absolutely. Thank you. Mary, I didn't know you were here on that item.
No worries, Commissioner. So this was a little surprise to me. I didn't know that this ordinance was in the works, but I think it's a really great one. And I guess like great minds think alike. So, you know, restrictive covenants are a terrible remnant of racial discrimination, and we continue to see the impacts of these covenants. And state law changed in 2019 that would allow landowners to correct restrictive covenants and record documents free of charge in my office. However, we have yet to see any single document take advantage of this free option to correct their covenants. So we've actually been in the process of putting together an outreach plan. We've already identified parcels throughout Thurston County that have corrected or restrictive covenants. We found approximately 377 to date. And what our plan was is to reach out directly to the landowners, kind of in a, did you know that this is an option for you, that they could, you know, change those restrictive covenants and record them for free in my office. Interestingly enough, there was also a bill introduced in just the last few days. It's called House Bill 1335 that would also make it a requirement to do what we've been planning to do here in Thurston County. So I really think we're on the right track. And Jeremy, thank you for your work on this. And I think this is a really, really positive step forward for Thurston County. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
And with that, Chair Menzer, I can go into some recent history regarding this issue, both in Thurston County and across the country, if you don't mind.
I would like that. Thank you.
So this is really a great moment and an opportunity for our community to right a past wrong that occurred in our country. And as a matter of fact, on June 12th of this last year, the Board of County Commissioners wrote a letter to the community committing the county in part to explore how the board can institutionalize diversity, equality, inclusion, and justice across Thurston County government. In recent history, real property deeds and plats were drafted and recorded to separate specific members of American society and promote racially, culturally, and socioeconomically segregated communities. And private real estate practices intentionally leveraged several methods to do this. One was actually using what we use to separate residential from commercial today, and those were their zoning regulations. This practice was outlawed in 1917, and folks pivoted to primarily using private property covenants, which is why we're here today. And these were used all the way up until 1968. And just some quick points on that. There were a couple of Supreme Court decisions where the Supreme Court said that these were legal. And then in 1948, the Supreme Court ruled in Shelley v. Kramer that outlawed the judicial enforcement of these private property covenants. But that decision didn't strike any of these private property covenants from the records. It also didn't prevent private parties from trying to enforce these. And after that Supreme Court decision is where we moved into what's called a private enforcement period of these. There was no judicial enforcement. Civil governments did not enforce them. The private property owners tried to do that. Starting in the 1950s and 1960s, there were over 400 citizen-based and local organizations advocating for open and fair housing laws, and this included Thurston County. As a matter of fact, in 1968, Thurston County, along with the cities of Lacey, Olympia, and Tumwater, passed their own open housing ordinance. This was shortly after the federal government passed the 1968 Civil Rights Act, which included Title VIII, which is commonly known as the Fair Housing Act. And following that in 1969, the state of Washington amended its own law on discrimination to outlaw these private property covenants and to outlaw the enforcement of them in local government. None of these new laws and Fair Housing Acts actually remove these provisions from private property records or the title record. The state amended its law starting in 1987 to add a method for private property owners to go to Superior Court, which is actually a very expensive method to try and remove these private property covenants from their title records. And then in 2006, they also added a way for the homeowners association to do the same thing, except that they could do it by a simple majority vote. And as County Auditor Hall indicated in 2019, the state added an ability for a private property owner to do a cost-free restrictive covenant modification to remove these restrictions from their title record. Again, these don't remove them from the historic record, but they do remove them from the title of the property. And they give us an opportunity to right a wrong while still having those there in context so that we can take heed of our past history and we have knowledge of it. And with that, I'll take any questions the board might have on the proposed resolution.
Questions for Jeremy?
I do
or
not.
the auditor?
I do not have any questions.
No, sir.
Okay, thank you, Jeremy. Appreciate that. I'm ready for a motion if there is one.
Yes, I would move to approve a resolution concurring that discriminatory restrictive language in real property recording instruments against a protected class under local, state, and federal law on any real property or plats is contrary to law, offensive, unenforceable, illegal, and unconstitutional, and further move to encourage the work of citizens, property owners, homeowners, associations, and other interested parties to find and rectify such discriminatory restrictive language.
I second.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
No, sir.
No, sir.
All in favor, say aye.
All right.
Aye.
Thank you, commissioners.
The
And
resolution passes.
if I might provide a phone number for people to contact, I'd contacted Emma O'Connell and County Auditor Hall's office, and he provided folks, if they do have these on their property record, can call the auditor's office at 360-786-5405. And I also would like to commend Emmett on his due diligence and his work on researching this, because really a lot of the local history I got from his work. So I want to give him the due credit for that.
All right, thank you, Emmett. Thank
Pretty
you,
amazing. He's a keeper.
Yep. All right, thanks everybody.
Thank you.
Nice work. Okay, item number 5 today is under Public Health and Social Services, Healthcare Authority Contract, Lead Pilot Site Development. I'm going to let Robin potentially just introduce the item. And I see we have our prosecutor here. We have Marianne O'Gara. I'm not sure who is going to give further detail, but.
Thank you, Commissioner. In the interest of time, I'm going to recognize our county prosecutor and then turn it over to Marianne O'Gara.
Thanks, Robin. I'm going to actually turn it over to Marianne right away just to let her give an overview of the project. It's something we've been working on. I know the board's familiar with it, but we'll kind of do the final overview and then answer any questions.
Well, thank you very much. Today in front of you, you have a contract from the Washington State Healthcare Authority for a pilot law enforcement assisted diversion program that we're asking you to consider approving. The contract would allow us to have an opportunity to put in place a community-based program that would provide a way for law enforcement officers and prosecutors to redirect local residents who are engaged in nonviolent, low-level crimes to services rather than being arrested or incarcerated in our local jail. The program LEAD, as it's referred to, is an evidence-based program that, as Mr. Thunheim was saying, we've been interested in for quite some time. The public safety results and public health results have been shown to be of great value to both participants and communities. This particular contract would provide us with the resources that would allow us to bring on board a 6 FTE team of individuals to provide intensive case management services and the program management services that we would need to operate a community advisory board and the oversight of a program to serve a county our size. And with that, in the interest of time, I'd like to turn it back over to John in case he'd like to add anything else.
Well, actually, this is a health department item, and I see Shelley's on the call as well, or in the meeting. So I should probably defer to Shelley to make any comments on behalf of the health department, and then I'll give you a little bit of an overview of the project from my point of view and turn it over from there. So Shelley, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Prosecutor Thunheim, and thank you, Marianne, for introducing this item and coordinating this project on behalf of public health and all of our criminal justice partners that are engaged in this. We're very excited to be at this point, having this opportunity for funding from the Healthcare Authority for this very exciting pilot project. We have many partners that have been working on it very hard to get to this point, and we look forward to hearing your decision today in terms of our ability to accept this grant so we can get started on this great work.
Great. Thanks, Shelley. So I'll just I guess my comments will be a very quick history of this. I know that most of the board members are familiar with this, but we actually attempted to do a pilot lead project a few years ago in Thurston County, but we tried to do it using available Medicaid money because we didn't have any other source of funding to do it. And for a variety of reasons, it turned out that was not a good match, and we could not make that work effectively for law enforcement. And so law enforcement couldn't readily utilize it the way that we had hoped that they could. So we had to pull back from that and kind of rethink this. And at the same time, the state saw the effectiveness of the LEAD programs going on in King County and other places of the state, and funded a grant project to establish other sites throughout the state. And so when that was announced, Shelley and I and the sheriff, Snaza, met together and talked about it and decided that this was our opportunity to try to do something with funding that was dedicated just for this project that would give us the best chance of success. And I just wanted to make a quick note to both of those partners, my thanks for their investment of time and resources into making this happen, and particularly Shelley and Marianne and the other folks at the health department. They've really pulled this together in a tremendous way. I'm totally excited about this. LEAD really is, in my view, one of the most critical strategies that we can enact right now to try to divert people out of the criminal justice system that don't need to be there, help manage our jail population and our criminal justice and our court system. And so I'm urging the board to support this, and I'm hopeful that you will. Thank you.
Questions for any of our team here from Commissioner Mejia?
I do not have questions or comments. Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Edwards?
No, sir.
I have one question and a couple comments. My question is maybe for Marianne, I guess. This is called a pilot site. I guess in what sense is it a pilot? Is it that we're going to start with fewer participants, like a limited number of participants, or is it that it's a limited duration, or in what sense is it? You know, when you think of a pilot, you usually think it's kind of like a trial, a more limited test. And I'm just curious about that.
So from the Healthcare Authority perspective, they are looking at it somewhat as a pilot. They are looking to evaluate it tightly, closely, looking at very specific outcomes amongst different types of communities in Washington State, monitor those outcomes, and see what it produces for us as a state. And so the pilot does go through 2023. So it's looking, if it continues to be funded, that is the goal. But they are looking at it from an evaluation perspective that way. So to run to fidelity through that time period. So that is partly why they, from a Thurston County perspective, we spent considerable time assuring we would adhere to fidelity, that we would, should we participate in this project, we would meet their standards, because if they're going to evaluate it, they want to make sure they're evaluating something that meets the program model, and that we would also be willing to accept a contract, which you would see in there, where we use a specific software system that measures specific outcomes that they're looking at, then also seeing what the results will be and if they're similar or different than what was found in other places, and that we produce a very specific locally tailored evaluation plan. So from a pilot perspective, that's kind of what this means for them, and it means for Washington State. I hope that helps. So it's not that we are ramping up, getting time to bring people on, but we're using the model exactly as intended. But it's a stronger evaluation aspect amongst very diverse and different communities.
Robin, did you have a comment?
I did, Commissioner, thank you. I was just going to say that this was a competitive grant. It was not a given that Thurston County would receive this funding and be able to stand the program up. Marianne, can you tell us how many communities in Washington State are receiving this grant?
At the moment, I'm aware of 2 others, and that is large and small.
Right. So this is a real opportunity for us to show what we can do and how effective this new tool in our criminal justice toolkit is.
Okay, so yeah, that does answer my question. And just so the public can kind of understand where I was coming from, what I'm understanding is that it's a pilot in the sense that the state is funding a limited number of programs to kind of see how they work. It's not that we're getting a scaled back version of the program. We're getting a full blown, version because we were selected, and at least for the period of time that we're funded, we're going to be able to. So I just wanted to make sure that was true. A couple of comments. I'm very excited about this. This is one of my, when I ran as a candidate in 2018, I was being told that, I don't remember where the statistic came from, but that up to 45% of the folks in our jail had some form of mental health diagnosis. It seemed to be agreement among the partners in the system that, including our sheriff, including our prosecutor, that we did not want our jail to be a default mental health hospital. We wanted to do things differently, and this is a big step, I think, in that direction, and I'm really excited about it. And I want to thank the prosecutor, John in particular. Change isn't easy, and when something doesn't work, it takes a lot of tenacity and to go back and try it again under different circumstances and parameters. So I applaud his willingness to try this again. When we know it's not going to be easy because there's a lot of moving pieces to it, but we have the funding and the support that we need, and now public health is involved, and we're going to have the staffing that's going to really make it a lot of greater chance of success. So this is very exciting. And I'm ready to entertain a motion.
Okay. I would move to approve Washington State Healthcare Authority contract K4913 for law enforcement assisted diversion, LEAD, pilot site development to provide case management services through the LEAD program for a total maximum amount of $925,593 for the period of date of contract execution to June 30th, 2021, and authorize the Director of Public Health and Social Services to sign the contract and any future amendments that do not change the approved dollar amount or duration by more than 10%.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
No, sir.
No, sir.
I just want to make one further comment. We're very quick to criticize the state when they don't do things that, they hamper our ability to work at local, but this wouldn't be possible without the commitment of the state of Washington to fund and the legislature to have funded this grant program. So I want to thank them for giving us this opportunity. We're going to make the most of it. All in favor of this motion, say aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you, commissioners.
Yes, thank you, John. Next on our is also a public health item. It's 2021 treatment sales tax interlocal agreement with the Thurston Mason BHASO. And Carrie Hennon, I see, is here. And Robin, do you want to introduce the item?
I'm gonna turn it right over to Carrie.
Very good.
All right, good afternoon, Commissioners. Carrie Hennon, Public Health and Social Services. I manage our treatment sales tax. As you know, treatment sales tax is a portion of our local sales tax. It's a restricted fund devoted to mental health and substance use disorder treatment and related supportive services. So it's an important funding source that allows us to fill what would otherwise be some big gaps in our community. The agreement before you today funds a range of behavioral health services through the Thurston Mason Behavioral Health Administrative Services Organization, a longstanding partner of ours in providing behavioral health services and working on treatment sales tax activities. So this funds a range of programs. All of this was already discussed by the Treatment Sales Tax Advisory Committee and the Board of County Commissioners back in the fall as part of the budget process. So this agreement is really simply moving forward and implementing what was already agreed to and appropriated through the budget process. So the activities funded in this agreement include behavioral health services for youth and adults, services in the community, services in schools, services in our juvenile detention facility and our adult jail. So wide range of programs for a total of about $2.5 million.
Okay, thank you, Carrie. Questions for Carrie on the board? Commissioner Edwards.
Carrie, could you just elaborate a little bit? The title talks about Thurston Mason Behavioral Health. Could you just mention that where that money is going to get spent?
That money will be spent in Thurston County. Those are Thurston County funds and must be spent on Thurston County programs. The Thurston Mason Administrative Services Organization covers both Thurston Mason counties. And that's sort of how the state has broken up the state into different regions for the purposes of these behavioral health services. Mason County has its own local treatment sales tax and its own relationship with the TMBHASO for services in that community.
Thank you.
Commissioner Mejia, anything?
No questions from me or comments.
And I have none either, so I'm ready to hear a motion.
Okay. I would move to approve the Thurston Mason Behavioral Health Administrative Services Organization Interlocal Agreement. Now, if you can come up with an acronym for that, but anyway,
roll off the tongue.
for a total of $2,500,033 in treatment sales tax funds for the period of January 1st, 2021 to December 31st, 2021, and authorize the Director of Public Health and Social Services to sign the agreement and any amendments that do not change the approved dollar amount or duration by more than 10%.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any further comment or discussion?
No, sir.
No, sir.
All in favor, say aye.
All right.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Carrie.
Thank you.
Okay, this brings us to item 6, Public Works. 6A is an interagency services agreement with the Washington State Department of Fish and Wildlife for Boston Harbor. Lucy Mills, Road Operations Manager for Public Works, is with us. Lucy, do you want to describe this item?
Yes, Commissioners, thank you. Lucy Mills, Road Operations Manager for Thurston County Public Works. This agreement allows Fish and Wildlife to pay Public Works $5,000 in 2021 and 2022 for costs associated with maintaining their restroom and parking lot, which is adjacent to the county-owned Boston Harbor Boat Launch. Washington Fish and Wildlife does not have enough resources and staffing to maintain the restroom and parking lot. By partnering with Fish and Wildlife through this agreement, Public Works is able to provide citizens who use the county boat launch with clean restrooms and parking facilities. The impact to county staff is minimal as the maintenance of this facility is scheduled with the maintenance at the Burfoot Park, which is only 3/4 of a mile away. This is really an extension of an agreement that we had in 2019 and 2020 for the same services. Are there any questions?
Commissioner Mejia,
No questions for me.
Commissioner Edwards.
No.
Okay, I do not either. This is an arrangement that's been working well, and I would entertain a motion.
Yes, I'd like to move to approve an interagency services agreement between Washington State Department of Fish and Wildlife and Thurston County Public Works, and to authorize the Public Works Director to sign the agreement.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
No, sir.
Hearing
No, sir.
none. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. Thank you,
Thank
Lucy.
you.
We have a second Public Works item, 6B, resolution vacating unopened rights-of-way in the plat of Boston Harbor. Craig Sisson, Real Estate Services Manager from Public Works, is with us. Go ahead,
Thank you,
Craig.
Commissioners. On November 10th, 2020, a public hearing was held on the vacation of those portions of county rights-of-way known as unopened 69th Avenue Northeast, platted as 7th Avenue South, lying south of Block 59, and a portion of the alley in Block 59 in the plat of Boston Harbor. These rights-of-way were dedicated to Thurston County by plat recorded under Auditor's File number 38315 on October 24th, 1907, and have never been opened or used by the public. In addition to increasing the tax base, this vacation will benefit Thurston County by relinquishing the responsibility for record keeping and liability for this area, which has reportedly become a site for illegal refuse disposal and illicit activities. The hearing examiner concurs that the vacation request satisfies all applicable criteria, and hearing no testimony in opposition to the application, recommends that the Board of County Commissioners approves the requested vacation subject to payment of compensation. This road vacation is in alignment with the county's strategic plan initiative 8 to support robust and well-maintained infrastructure systems for a thriving community.
Vacation request always sounds more exciting than it really is. Commissioner Mejia, anything on this?
No. No, sir.
Commissioner Edwards?
No, but just for the viewing public, I'd let them know that we've been talking about this for quite a while and goes back over 100 years and puts something back on the tax rolls, if you will. So it's beneficial to all parties concerned.
Very good. I don't have any comments or questions, so is there a motion?
I would move to approve a resolution adopting the hearing examiner's recommendation for approval of rights-of-way vacation in the plat of Boston Harbor, subject to conditions as outlined in the summary statement.
I second.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
No, sir.
No, sir.
Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Unanimously carries. Thank you, Craig.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Yep. Okay, we're cruising through today. County Manager Section 7A relates to COVID-19 vaccine contracts. And I'll ask Robin to set this up for us.
Thank you, Commissioner. I'll also be turning to our Public Health Director, Shelley Slaughter. But I'll start by saying, I know that you and everyone is aware how critical it is for us to quickly deliver the new COVID-19 vaccines. The county is doing everything it can to streamline our processes, especially if they're administrative processes, so that we are able to expedite delivery of the vaccine when it becomes available. At our mass vaccination site, once we are able to stand that up, we're going to need help from professionals throughout the county who have the skills and the authorization to actually give vaccinations. To enable public health to do that, we are asking that the board authorize a waiver from competitive bidding so that public health is able to set up contracts not just one contract, but many contracts with providers who will come in and partner with us to be able to give the shots. We'll also need support staff for the process as we go. So really, this is an administrative measure meant to cut through the red tape of contracting in Thurston County, so that we can do what we need to do and not be facing an audit finding next year. And I'm going to ask Shelley if she would like to add to that.
Thank you so much, Assistant County Manager Campbell. You covered it very well. As Robin just stated, we do have several mass vaccination sites, events, and mobile outreach that we plan on conducting in the coming weeks and months as our vaccine supply increases. And it's critically important that we have the staffing resources available. Licensed medical staff is required to administer vaccines, and we have a limited number in our Thurston County Public Health and Social Services Department. This request would help allow us to quickly contract with providers that want to partner with us, as well as would support partnerships that we already have in existence with other healthcare providers in the community. This will help us to be ready when we have the vaccine supply to quickly get as many Thurston County residents as possible vaccinated as we move through the phases. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Okay, any questions? Start with Commissioner Edwards.
I guess the only thing I would throw in there that we want to be ready when we do get adequate vaccines, which we're not quite there yet, but working on it. So this is a preemptive situation we're trying to get laid out.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner Edwards.
Commissioner Mejia, anything?
I just want to again address the fact that there is not a spending limit. I know Robin this morning mentioned that there would be federal and state funding that would come to cover that. But just that's my concern, just the fact that there is not really a limit or a number of how much we're going to spend out on these contracts. And then I just wanted to see, maybe it is a liability, but have we asked for volunteer support staff and providers to come in and help out?
Yes, we have. Thank you so much for bringing that up, Commissioner Mejia. We are deploying all of our existing Thurston County staff that are available to help, as well as partnering with United Way of Thurston County to help us recruit, coordinate, and manage volunteers for this massive effort in Thurston County. And we'll be using all of those resources first before we will be relying upon paid medical staffing. But we want to be ready because we know that that's what it's gonna take to be able to get this done.
And to acknowledge your concerns about the lack of a upper limit on these contracts, Commissioner, we will carefully track how much the county commits to spending in these contracts and report to the board each week on the contracts that we sign. We were able to set aside funding at the end of last year because we knew we would have issues this year. So there is some money available, but we are confident that the federal government is going to fund at least a portion of our vaccine delivery, if not all of it. So we're not going to decimate the budget with this, but we do need to move the vaccine out.
Thank you.
I will also just add that medical personnel are in extremely high demand right now, and every other local health jurisdiction in the state of Washington are all working to try to get enough personnel to help. So time is of the essence so that we can make sure that we do secure the help that we need here in Thurston.
Thank you. One other question. You mentioned this morning regarding mass vaccination sites being the Thurston County Fairgrounds as one possible location, and also SPSEC. Have we reached out to South counties, the mayors of Tenino, Rochester, and set something in that area, especially for those who don't have transportation to come all the way up here?
Part of our plans include mobile outreach to those communities. We have reached out to all of the school districts in those areas, and they have offered sites and are often hubs for those rural communities. So when we're ready to do that, we have that partnership in place. But I will be further reaching out to all of our jurisdictions as we continue to go forward to make sure we are prioritizing and reaching underserved populations and those in our rural area who may have difficulty accessing our mass vaccination sites. So absolutely, very excellent point and question.
Thank you.
Okay, I do not have anything. So beyond that, so is there a motion on this?
Yes, sir. I would move to authorize a waiver from competitive bidding in accordance with RCW 39.04.280 sub 1C for contracts that are expedited distribution of COVID-19 vaccines awarded between January 18th, 2021 through December 31st, 2021. In accordance with Resolution 15937, extending the emergency declaration, and authorize the county manager or assistant county manager to sign all said contracts.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
No, sir.
No, sir.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Shirley.
Thank you.
Brings us to our last substantive item for this afternoon, 7B, Comcast franchise agreement. And Robin will describe what this is for the public.
Thank you, commissioners. The county contracts with cable and communication providers so that they are able to create infrastructure that goes through the county's right of way. We have contracted with Comcast Cable Communications for many years now, at least the last 20 years, if not longer. And the contract that we have is for 10 years, and it was time to renegotiate the contract. We've been in negotiation for the last 3 years and have reached agreement in coordination with the cities in Thurston County. So we all have the same agreement with Comcast to use our rights of way for the infrastructure that maintains the delivery of these services to the citizens of the county. In exchange, Comcast pays franchise fees to the county that are around $1.6 million a year, and also PEG fees, and I believe PEG stands for Public Education and Government Access, and that is around $100,000 a year in PEG fees. So we are requesting that the board authorize a new 10-year contract with Comcast, and we will continue to work with them in the future. We did hold a public hearing on this, and we have received one comment this afternoon from TC Media in support of the contract.
Okay, any questions from the board?
No questions, sir.
I would just point out this has been an ongoing negotiation for the last couple of years to come to this conclusion. So although we're moving through it pretty quickly, it's been thoroughly discussed.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
Yes, I would move to approve the resolution granting Comcast Cable Communications Management, LLC, non-exclusive authorization to make reasonable and lawful use of the rights of way within the franchise area to construct, operate, maintain, reconstruct, and rebuild a cable system and to provide cable service subject to set forth in Exhibit A to the resolution.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion?
No, sir.
No, sir.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. And that concludes that item. Make a lot of people happy. I'll just say that that item seems to, I mean, it's been more of a thorn in the side of our staff members than the board. So I just acknowledge that hard work on different staff members that worked on this, and I know they're happy to have this item behind them. Okay, so that brings us to 7C, which is commissioners reporting on either board work sessions or community events, signed committee meetings, really anything the commissioners would like to report on to the public. I'll start with Commissioner Mejia.
Yes, so finishing up my third week last week, I just really want to thank staff and partner organizations and the general public for reaching out to me during this time. I do appreciate all your comments and suggestions that come to me. I am trying to reach out to all of you as soon as I possibly can with the correct information. So I just want to thank that. In regards to the committees that I serve on, I have nothing to report. I've enjoyed everyone very thoroughly. And thank you for those who have reached out for orientations on them. And that's it for me, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Edwards.
Just a few things to report on this last week. The fire commissioners met, and nothing really exciting to report there. The EMS Council met, and the Thurston Mason Behavioral Health Administration / Olympic Health Recovery Services Governing Board met. And again, I'm looking for an acronym if anybody can come up with one on there. Anyway, mainly my activities besides those those joint meetings that we participate in individually, COVID, school reopenings, the vaccine implementation, clean water involving nitrogen in the forest and sewer solids in the forest. And that was probably my week.
Okay. Yeah, we've had 2 weeks since the last board meeting. A couple of things that happened for me. I attended a housing forum put on by TRPC with some strategies that they've outlined for affordable housing. Attended a WASAC meeting that was, in addition to the normal WASAC meetings, this one was kind of a special one that it covered multiple items, but the item that I was dialed into was this Uniform Guardianship Act and the burden that it's placing on county governments, an unfunded mandate type of issue from the state. And we are, the counties will be tracking expenses very closely because the way the enforcement of that statute works is you have to actually show you are able to submit a request for reimbursement. And if the state denies that request, then there's a dispute ripe to go to potentially court and have that dispute resolved. So the counties will be teeing that up because we feel very strongly that the new mandates under the Uniform Guardianship Act need to be funded by the state under state law. Had the honor of representing the county at the Thurston Chambers annual event where the mayors and the chair of the board comment on the state of the community. If you missed it, my comments, I transcribed them and put them on my Facebook page so you can read what I reported out on there. And ongoing conversations about the resource hub project that we're working very hard to get put together in 2021, where folks that are in jail, coming out of jail, justice involved, will have a single, kind of akin to the Lacey Veterans Hub, but that concept brought to our campus for criminal justice system to try to help folks get connected and re-entered. Studies show that re-entry money is about the best most effective money that you can spend in criminal justice reform. So we're trying to target a little bit of effort that direction. And there are a lot of exciting, a lot of exciting community groups that are stepping up to help us put this together, including Pack Mountain and Capital Recovery Center and others. So that's exciting stuff, and conversations are ongoing. That brings us to 7D, where typically County Manager Ramiro Chavez would walk us through our joint schedule. Robin, I don't know if you're going to do the same. Okay, you are.
Yes, I am. So coming up this week, tomorrow morning, Wednesday the 27th, you have a Meet the Commissioners taping at the TC Media. And I would mention that all of the items that I am about to talk about are on the board's shared calendar. You, of course, have many other items on your individual calendars. So tomorrow morning, taping at TC Media, Meet the Commissioners. At 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, you have a update of the Thurston Climate Mitigation Plan. No joint meetings are scheduled for Thursday, February 28th. On Friday, January 29th, Friday, the commissioners will hold a planning session in room 280 from 9 o'clock to 4 p.m. Nothing is scheduled for Monday, February 1st. On February 2nd at 9 o'clock, we'll do agenda setting. And the 2 o'clock board meeting next Tuesday has been canceled.
Okay, thank you, Robin. Anything else for the good of the order before we adjourn?
No, sir.
Hearing nothing, we are adjourned. Thank you.